Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. On Monday, June 22nd, we will implement Phase 1 of the USU Return to Campus Plan. Now, as I mentioned in my message to the university community last week, and what I will reiterate, is that our return under Phase 1 will vary by individual responsibility center. Therefore, it's very important that each of you continue to communicate with your supervisor to determine if you will return during Phase 1 or maybe at a future phase. Now, until we know enhanced health and safety measures are no longer needed, we will continue to err on the side of caution in protecting our campus community. Now, we have implemented safeguards that include facial coverings, proper hand hygiene, physical distancing, frequent cleaning, reduced density in certain spaces, and required reporting of symptoms, among others. Most importantly, we're exercising common sense. Now let me share some of the steps that we must take before we enter Phase 1 to maximize health and safety. I've implemented mandatory training for all personnel prior to your return to campus. This training will familiarize you with COVID-19 risks, the transmission, safety precautions, and procedures for physical distancing, wearing of face coverings, hand hygiene, and reporting certain requirements. The USU Safely Return to Campus training will be available on the CIO's one-stop training platform, and I ask that all of you complete it before you return to campus or by June 29th, whichever comes first. All personnel must also adhere to Force Protection Condition and Health Protection Condition guidance, which can be found on the USU COVID-19 intranet page. We'll continue to adhere to Dod Travel Restrictions. Waivers may be approved for travel that is mission essential or for humanitarian reasons or undue hardships. Here's a reminder. Stay home if you're sick or ill. Contact your supervisor or healthcare provider. Throughout our phased reopening, you're also advised to take your temperature before coming into the office, even if you feel pretty well. And stay home if you have a fever. Please notify your supervisor immediately if you have contracted COVID-19 or if you've been exposed to it or someone who has also contracted it. Also, immediately contact USU Occupational Health for guidance. That contact information is available on the university COVID-19 intranet site. If you're exposed, stay home and self-quarantine for 14 days. Continue to maintain physical distancing. Again, no closer than 6 feet when at all possible, until otherwise notified. Continue to practice good hand hygiene and sneeze or cough etiquette. Wear a cloth face covering unless you're alone at an appropriate spaced workstation or chair. USU employees may continue to wear cloth face coverings through all phases, and supervisors may require continued use for certain categories of employees, depending on the nature of the job. For example, food service, security, medical care, animal caretaker personnel, etc. Viral testing is available for military health system eligible university employees at Walter Reed who become symptomatic. Antibody testing is not currently available, but we expect that in the near future. Employees may also be tested at their designated state or county testing centers. During Phase 1, parking is permitted on a space available basis to all university personnel in the USU garage. No parking hang tag is required. All campus areas will be cleaned and disinfected in accordance with CDC guidance by contract personnel or university staff as appropriate. Common areas will be cleaned and disinfected by the contract cleaning crew. Department areas will be cleaned and disinfected by department personnel. Vulnerable employees include those populations that the Centers for Disease Control has identified as high risk due to either age, which is 65 or older, or pre-existing medical conditions, for example, respiratory disease, immunocompromised conditions, etc., and also special populations including pregnant women. Employees claiming a pre-existing condition that meets the CDC standards may be requested to provide medical documentation to support their claim, and if an employee needs another form of accommodation due to a medical condition, the employee should be directed to the Equal Employment Opportunity Office and Ms. Polly Sadler for assistance. To the extent possible, supervisors are encouraged to consider telework options for employees who provide care and supervision to vulnerable household members. Supervisors should utilize telework and alternate work schedules to support employees with young children and other dependent care obligations due to the closure of schools and child care facilities necessitated by the COVID-19 crisis, if it is consistent with the mission and if it's feasible. Employees who exhibit signs of illness should be instructed to leave work immediately. And once the employee is safely at home, the supervisor should contact the employee to discuss his or her leave options. If you have any questions, please contact CHR or the brigade. We expect there will be both some excitement and a little anxiety as we transition back to campus. Now, to minimize the anxiety and the risk, our return must have a deliberate focus on the safety of all members of our USU community. As I mentioned earlier, we will not all return at the same time. We will only move forward through each and every phase once the conditions are met, and we've determined that it's safe for the health and the well-being of each individual and his or her particular circumstances. I want to emphasize my appreciation for your understanding and your support as we navigate these uncharted waters. There's a tremendous amount of work that still has to be done, and I know that there's plenty of unanswered questions. Our completed return to campus phase plan will be shared as soon as it's finalized, and that should be very shortly. In the meantime, remember, stay safe and stay strong. Not only are those words a great way to welcome folks back, but it's a way to help us all remember to take care of yourselves and each other. As always, I appreciate everything that you do to make USU a great place to work and to learn. Thank you, and I look forward to seeing you back on campus.